Welcome back to News Talk. The Washington Nationals bats finally have woken up. If you went to bed as I did when it was 6-6 last night, the Nats and the Colorado Rockies, well, you missed some fireworks. The Nats pounding out 15 hits en route to a 15-6 victory over the last place Rockies. Because New York also won, they beat the O's last night. Washington remains 4.5 back of the first place Mets. Tom Threlkeld, editor-in-chief of the DC Pro Sports Report, joins us now. Welcome back. Good to see you.
Great to be here, Bruce.
Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Good to be able to watch, and I caught it on TiVo this morning. The Nats went nuts. I mean, they went really...
4 runs in the 8th, 4 runs in the 9th.
So it's just a win. I mean, it's great to get the win, but it is only one win,
right.
And it's clear this
and against the second worst team in the National League.
Right. Yeah. They need to catch fire. We're all hoping this is the spark.
Yeah, look, the Nationals are in real trouble. This is a team with a $165 million payroll, and they were a popular pick before the season began to represent the National League in the World Series and maybe even win it all. And, you know, they've suffered a lot of injuries this season, there's no doubt about it, but they haven't responded to those injuries well. And some of the players they have been they relied on in the first half of the season have really slowed down, particularly in the pitching staff. One starter, Max Scherzer, who's lost his stuff, and one reliever, Drew Storen, who you know was demoted from the closer spot and then fell apart after being demoted. Look, you know, going into last night, they've been hitting .222 since the All-Star break, which is the worst in Major League Baseball. They had won 10 of 30 games since the All-Star break, so a 10-20 record. Again, third worst in Major League Baseball since that time. And they've been on a terrible slump.
And that coincided with the Mets, really.
That's right. The New York Mets went on a streak. For 2 weeks, the Mets were the hottest team in baseball. They started hitting, which is something they hadn't done all year. They have a very good starting rotation, and they have had all season. They're not strong in the bullpen. But the Mets have cooled off. They got swept by the Pittsburgh Pirates. Here was a real opportunity for the Nationals to pick up some games, and instead they got swept by the San Francisco Giants.
They barely scored.
That's right. And, you know, look, they have faced some very good pitchers, but they haven't done well against those pitchers. And if you're one of those people who believe, well, maybe the Nats can win, we're going to win the division and make the playoffs, but they won't go anywhere in the playoffs again because they can't hit, well, there's some evidence for that. They faced guys like Clayton Kershaw and Zach Greinke and Madison Bumgarner, and they got smoked. I mean, shut out. They looked like a Little League team against those guys. And those are the pitchers you face in the postseason. You don't face 4 and 5 pitchers. You face every team's best stuff. And so far, the Nationals' bats have not been able to handle it.
Will Danny Espinosa get more playing time?
I certainly hope so. He deserves it. I think what you saw last night is, you know, a manager, Matt Williams, who just threw up his hands and decided, I'm just going to try something completely out of the box. He put Jason Worth, who was hitting, I think, 185 going into the game, as a leadoff hitter, and had Espinosa as the number 2 hitter. He had Yunel Escobar, who is not a power hitter, in the cleanup spot. I mean, it was kooky, but it worked. And I think what you might be seeing from what they're hoping for from Worth is what we saw at the end of 2012 when he came back from a wrist injury. Then in August, he was then manager Davey Johnson put him in as the leadoff hitter, and it relieved Worth of the pressure to hit for power, to hit home runs. Instead, he focused on getting on base, on working counts. He hit over 300 in those 38 games back in 2012. I think they're hoping to recreate that now because it's clear, coming back from his wrist injury, he has very little power and has really been during that 6-game losing streak, I think he was 1 for 16 or something like that at the plate.
We have about 40 seconds in this segment. With Worth coming back, signs of life. Zimmerman coming back from injury, signs of life, and the schedule getting easier. Should we embrace this? Is there reason to hope that the Nats will be in the chase deep?
There's some reason to hope, but look, they need help. I mean, they don't deserve help, but they need it from the New York Mets. The Mets need to stay cool and start losing. The problem is the Mets face a very easy schedule going forward. After they get done with the Orioles, they really only face one team for the rest of the year that currently has a winning record. So the Nationals are really going to have to catch fire and just have to hope the Mets hit a skid. Those
final games against the Mets are really going to be something. As we talk with Tom Threlkeld of the DC Pro Sports Report, a break, back with more in a moment.